everybody. Thank you so much for listening in and welcome to this episode on Skinny V Podcast and Skinny V TV, because we are going to be sharing this on our YouTube channel as well. And we are so excited for this episode because we got the amazing Annette on the call today, all the way from Phoenix, Arizona. So are you there, Annette? Can you hear us?
I am. Hello.
Amazing.
From sunny Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah, it's sunny there now, today.
Yes, and it's hot. So it's like about 103 degrees is what it's going to be today. So definitely warm and sunny.
I thought we had it good today, and we're around about 65-ish, 70.
Oh, that's nice, though.
Yeah, you say that.
For us, that's really warm.
Oh, wow. Yeah, 103 is about our average right now. But we love it, it's nice.
I was born to live in the sun, and if I wasn't, then why do we need to wrap up in coats to keep warm? It's not right.
I know, that's how I feel. And anything below 75, for me, I'm like cold. I'm like, oh yeah, I need a jacket.
I hate the cold.
Definitely. Well, we could chat all day to you because you're amazing, but we are here to talk about you, your area of expertise, which is yoga. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your backstory, and how you got into yoga yourself.
Absolutely. So I have been practicing for over 10 years now, and I was introduced to it by a friend of mine. And so I attended my first ever hot yoga class, and why I decided to go that route for my first ever class, I don't know, but it was incredible. And I just loved it from the very beginning, and the practice really just evolved for me. I continued to show up, and I would come to my mat, and I loved all the physical benefits. But after practicing for so long, I just found that I kept coming back really for the mental aspect, the mindful aspect of it. So it really transitioned from a physical practice to more of a mindful practice, and I still love it today for that same reason.
Wow, I've never done hot yoga. I've heard of it. It's around in some places where we live, but I must try hot yoga.
Is it more intense? Can you move more easily and breathe more easily, or is it harder because of the heat?
I feel like it's a combination of both. So I feel like when you're in a hot yoga class or even a heated yoga class where it's not really, really hot, you just feel like your muscles are a little warmer. They're a little more flexible. You get a bit of a deeper stretch, which I love. And then for some of the classes, I don't know that I can necessarily breathe as easily, but it's definitely a little more challenging in some areas. But I like it because it challenges you in a way that really grows and develops you on your mat. And then you take those same principles and practices and you're able to apply them to everyday situations. So I feel like I've cultivated so much growth in myself on my mat, and have been able to transition that into just my daily life with how I handle situations or just my relationships with people. I'm able to feel a little calmer. So things like that. I really appreciate it for that aspect. But with the hot yoga, you definitely get a really great workout and you definitely sweat and detox a ton. So for that reason, I love it. But I don't always feel like I breathe the best. But after a while, it just becomes part of the practice. But every day that you show up on the mat is different. It's like there are no 2 days that are the same, which I love. I think it's really neat.
That's that when you talk about the mindfulness and taking that into everyday situations, that's that meditation part of the breathing, enabling your mind and body to be able to adjust and react in the right way without panicking.
Yes. And that's such a great point, because sometimes, even now after practicing for so many years, there will be days where I am able to recognize that within myself, like sooner than I feel like I would have before. And I feel like I've cultivated tools to be able to handle that. I'm like, okay, you know what? You don't need to be reactive right now. Take a moment, take a step back and just tune into the breath and just tune into yourself. And then when I do that, I'm able to take a look at a situation from a completely different perspective. I feel like I'm more calm. I can look at it in a place of inner peace, and I don't feel like I'm as reactive sometimes. And so it's really nice to be able to do that. Not that I do that all the time, but it definitely has been able to help me in situations. Or I even had a situation last week that came up, and I had to take a step back, and I thought, you know what? I don't need to make a decision on this right now. I need to sleep on this. I need to come to peace with this decision before I move forward. And I felt like when I woke up the next day, I made more of a sound decision than I would have in that moment. But it came from that practice. And like you said, it's that mindful meditation. It really becomes a moving meditation for yourself. And it's incredible. It really is powerful.
I think it's being in tune with your emotional intelligence, isn't it? Do you have that sort of like out of body experience where you have that conversation in that split second to be able to step back instead of reacting? I find it's like a superpower when I talk to people when they're in tune with their mindfulness and they react in a way. It's like having a superpower that they don't react like most people would.
Yes, yes. And, you know, it was really interesting because last year I kind of went through something very similar where I just felt like I was holding on to all of this old static energy, and it was interfering in my relationships. It was interfering in just my day-to-day activities, and I could not shake it. I just could not. And so I knew that I just needed to tune in and take a step back. Like you said, it was one of those moments that I thought, you know what? You need to really just apply the principles that you've learned. And sometimes it's just taking a pause and not doing anything. And so I really worked on it. And it took me about 4 weeks, 5 weeks of showing up on my mat and releasing some of those areas. Like for me and for most people, they'll carry a lot of tension and stress in their hips. It's one area that it just collects and builds up. And you don't realize that until you start to relax that area. So I had to take time to do different postures and poses and hold them. And then I applied different affirmations as I did it. And I have to tell you, it was the most incredible, powerful experience though. And at the end, I just went through, it was just a normal day. I showed up on my mat and just, you know, I was flowing. And at the end of the practice, I was just laying in child's pose, and all of a sudden it was just these tears started to come down. And it wasn't because I was sad. It wasn't because I felt any type of emotion. It was truly letting go of what no longer served me. Yeah. And it was in that moment, I was like, okay, this is why I show up on my mat, because I had been holding on to all this old static energy. And I mean, it may have built up, you know, over a year. Like it may have just been little things, you know, and I would release, but I didn't really focus on that. And I wasn't as active in focusing in those areas. And when I did, it was completely transformational. It was like all this built up energy and pain had just released. And it was just these tears of like joy almost. It was incredible. I was like, I'm just going to lay here for a moment. I'm going to let everybody clear out of class and just enjoy this space. But it was so, yeah, it felt good. It really did.
You can see it if somebody's stressed, or you can see it in their posture. You can.
Yeah, because you feel it in the body. And, you know, yoga really is a way to align the physical body, the mental body, and the spiritual body all in one. And when all of those are aligned, I really feel for myself that I am at my best. And if one of those areas is off, I notice it and it comes out. Ultimately, it has to come out and manifest itself in different ways. And that could be stress, it could be anxiety, you know, it could be depression. But when I really focus in and tune into my body, which yoga has allowed me to do, you realize that the body moves more fluidly. You realize that, you know, the mind feels more calm and you're just at peace.
Yeah.
I can't believe they don't teach yoga in schools.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. I could not agree with you more. It is such a powerful practice. And even the practice of yoga and the practice of meditation for kids to learn at such an early age can tremendously change their lives in huge ways. You know, because to be able to be as mindful is possible in certain situations, you know, and they are living in a completely different world now, but to be able to take a step back and approach things in a different way and tune into the body and tune into the mind. I mean, I really wish that they would consider that, you know, as even just once a week where they have, you know, a meditation practice. It's just so many benefits come out of it.
Most definitely. I mean, the children are growing up now. They seem to be getting more anxious with the pressures of social media, and life's not getting easier. And obviously the physical state of a lot of children growing up now, you know, that with the diets that they're eating, it has to be.
I think there's a lot more,
to
like teenagers and people growing up, there's a lot more anxiety now, I find, than there was 20, 30 years ago. A lot more kids have anxiety. They've got a lot more to deal with. You know,
I agree. I absolutely agree with you both. I mean, you know, I have 2 young children myself, ages 14 and 11. And, you know, like you mentioned, that social media pressure, I mean, they have access to so many different things at such an early age where I'm like, it really changes the mind of such a young person when they're exposed to so much so early. And to be able to kind of have that mindfulness within themselves really empowers them. It does in a big way. I've tried doing yoga with my daughter who is 14, and it was hilarious. She's like, this is hard. And I was like, it's not hard. You have to honor your body where it's at, you know, and it takes time. I remember when I first started doing yoga, I was like, the teacher was saying all these different mantras and postures, and I'm like, I don't even know what she's talking about. This is a whole nother language in itself. But it was just funny because I was like, you know, you just honor your body where it's at, and that's a beautiful place to be sometimes. It's just accepting where it's at and knowing that, you know, no 2 days are the same. You know, and my fiance is funny. He's like, I just do yoga so I could tie my shoes comfortably. And I'm like, okay, well, that's great too. You know, we all have our different reasons.
Definitely. I mentioned to you before, when we've had a chat before, that I've just started.
You do it every day
practicing
now.
yoga, and it's unbelievable how unflexible I am when they go in some of these poses, and I can only get like a third or a quarter of the way down. I'm like, oh my God, you know, that's amazing.
But do you feel like since you've started that you have gained more flexibility though? Like, are you starting to notice a couple of areas where you'll come into a posture and you're like, I remember when I couldn't even get this far, and now you realize you're like, oh my gosh, look at all this progress that I've made.
And it's all about the breathing, isn't it?
Yeah, trying to breathe, trying to remember to breathe while you're trying to get into some of the positions is quite hard at the beginning, isn't it?
Oh my gosh, I really struggled with that. I had a hard time. I felt like the teacher was saying inhale and I was exhaling, and then she'd say exhale and I was like, I'm still just trying to catch my breath right now. I remember I was all over, but then you get to this place where it just happens so automatically. And that's like the beautiful thing about the breath, because the breath really represents the mutual relationship of what you can control and that which you cannot, because the breath can be completely voluntary and automatic, and then there are times where you can control it. So when you pair the two together, it really is this beautiful union of what you can control and that which you cannot. So I love to be able to work on that breath work, and then it also increases your lung capacity too. You start to strengthen the lungs, which is really neat as you start to work on the breath more. But that's so cool. I love that you're doing that, and the fact you're doing it every day, that's huge. That is incredible.
I need to do it now.
My problem,
both
of our problems actually is lower back pain.
Yeah.
And I've got like a clicky hip flexor as well. Mm-hmm. So, and you talk about the hips, and that's where my lack of mobility is my hips and sort of lower back. So I am seeing an improvement in that, and I'm loving the stretching. I'm loving how it feels.
Doesn't it feel good in the body? Yeah. It just feels good sometimes to just stretch the body. And I mean, for me, I sit at a desk a lot of the time. You know, I'm fortunate when I get that time on my mat, but I'm always at my desk. It feels like, you know, and you're sitting, and so those hips get very tight. And the hips are a place of holding a ton of emotion too. And so sometimes you'll realize after doing a very hip focused class that a lot of emotions will come up to the surface. So it's really interesting. But what I have found is one of the videos I actually created most recently was a chair yoga sequence, and it was 20 minutes, and it was so gentle on the body, but it was so calming, and I just felt so good to be able to sit at my desks and get a little chair yoga sequence in less than 20 minutes and still get some of those same benefits. It was incredible. It really was.
Well, that sounds good.
Definitely. I think you need to buy into the whole. I listened to. I followed somebody on YouTube before, and obviously we're going to direct people to you because you're amazing, and I know you've got something amazing for our listeners lined up, which is going to be in the comments. A link there for you guys. But yeah, and she at the end she started chanting, and I was like, "What is going on?" First of all, but when you fully immerse yourself in it, it's amazing how it all makes you feel.
Isn't it? Like when you just let go and then you just allow it to come into your body and your mind, and everybody is touched completely differently. But it's so neat when you really just immerse yourself in it and you just allow that level of openness. It really does transform you. It really is neat.
I went to a yoga class for a little while with Hayley. Can you remember that one?
Yeah.
And the lady then was about 68, 69 who was taking the class. She was amazing. And I just kept giggling all the time. It was like 20 years ago. But I seen her in the newspaper a few weeks ago. She's still doing her yoga classes and she's 89. And you want to see her figure, her body. It was just incredible. She is.
That is so neat. I love that. I mean, it is such a great practice for any age, for any level. And I think sometimes the common misconception is that, you know, you have to be ultra flexible. You have to be able to touch your toes on the first day that you walk in. But for all of us as beginners, most of us do not walk in like that. Yeah. You know, it's after years and years of practice that you get to that level. You know, and I know for myself, it takes time.
Yeah, it's like anything, isn't it? You want to learn a language, a musical instrument, whatever it is, you have to give it time in order to get good at it and to be able to do everything you see the pros do. So I did it. Well, I've changed my lifestyle really, plant-based, exercising, yoga, because I'm past 40 now. I'm 43 this year, and I love playing golf. Awesome. And I just feel that my best years, although they've been amazing, don't get me wrong.
Thanks, Chris.
23 years married tomorrow. But yeah.
Oh, happy early anniversary. That is so cool.
They've been amazing.
I told Chris this morning, happy anniversary. It was the wrong day.
Yeah.
But at least I've said.
You were like, I wanted to be early. I wanted to be the first to tell you.
So yeah, I just feel like I've got my best years ahead of me, and I want to be fit and able to do everything I want to do.
Yeah.
So it feels good to be healthy, you know, and wellness doesn't just include the physical body. Like you said, it's that mindful aspect, that meditation, that spiritual body too, and how you connect, whether it's through, you know, mantras or affirmations or whatever you cultivate that suits you. It's all incorporates that wellness, but it really does bring a different level of wellness when you incorporate all those different aspects, and truly, like you said, it's that honoring the body, you know, or eating a plant-based diet. It just feels good. It feels really good.
It does. Yeah, you do feel so much different, don't you, from when we used to eat meat?
Definitely.
Completely different last year, which is really good.
That is incredible. So it's been a year.
Yeah, a year. Wow. A year as vegetarian. But January then Chris changed to
plant-based,
complete complete plant-based food.
Yeah.
That is incredible. That is incredible. I love I have a pretty heavy plant-based diet. But I do like eggs, so I have eggs every now and then. But it really is completely different in my body and even in my gut. Like gut health is one of those things that is extremely important, especially as the older we get. I'm starting to notice the importance of having good gut health. And again, it goes along with just wellness in general, is taking care of that inner body too. And then you start to realize, like for me, I was like, oh, my skin looks better. My hair is stronger and healthier. There's all these other benefits, my nails.
You haven't noticed that one, have you?
My beard.
He's like, I feel like it is.
My beard got stronger. It's grown in the wrong places. But yeah, I know. I feel you. I know what you're saying.
The older we get, that tends to happen. Trust me. I'm like, man, I don't remember this in my 20s or my 30s.
So tell me about some of the words like chakra. Tell me about that. You hear that a lot in yoga.
Yes. Okay. So there are 7 chakras. And I'm very excited because I created one that is specific for all of the listeners, and it focuses on the root chakra, which is the first of all of the chakras. It's located at the base of the spine. And the root chakra specifically is a place where you feel grounded. So sometimes if your root chakra is deficient, you'll notice that you're not as grounded, you're not as connected, you just feel off, you tend to sometimes be a little more reactive in certain situations. So the root chakra really connects us to our grounding, to our center, to that core. And so when you work on that chakra, you'll tend to notice that you have more balance, you feel more grounded, more peaceful. And then you've got the solar plexus, which is above that. Of course, you've got the heart chakra. So sometimes if that heart chakra is closed off, there will tend to be some very different emotions that come up. You may tend to have some conflict in relationships if that heart chakra is very closed off. And same thing with the throat chakra, which is right above that and located right here. So sometimes if we have a sharp tongue, it may be that our throat chakra may be a little overactive. And so working on bringing that back into balance. And then of course you have your third eye. And then the very top of that chakra is the crown chakra.
Wow.
So that connects us, to that outer body. That's that very top one. But yeah, so they all align very differently. And it's really interesting because there are different postures that you could do that are specific to each of those chakras, just depending on, whether it's deficient, whether it's overactive, or just bringing it back into balance. So for the listeners, I created one specific to the root chakra. And the reason for that was, with everything going on in our world right now, there's so much that is out of our control. But what we can control is how grounded we are, how connected we are. And when we are grounded and we are rooted, everything else can grow from there. It's like a tree. If its roots are not planted deep, then that tree cannot cultivate and grow. So it's the same with us. So we want to make sure that we are grounded and that we are rooted, and then we always could grow from there and evolve. So I thought, creating one specific to the root chakra with everything going on it would be a good place to begin with that.
That's amazing. I'm going to learn all about this.
Yeah, it's like a whole nother study of itself. It is fascinating too.
Yeah, definitely. It's like anything, like you say. I'm glad you've done that because you have to start from the ground and work your way up. So
exactly. And I thought that would be most important right now, with everything going on and just kind of feeling out of balance myself with all these changes. I thought, sometimes you just have to get back to basics, and that basic is just rooting yourself in what your truth is and what that your piece is. And so when you root yourself, you could grow anywhere from there because that your roots are strong.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Definitely.
That's definitely something I'm going to do.
Good. Oh, yay.
Yeah.
And I incorporated a few postures in there too. So just showing, some of the different postures that you can do to ground and root that chakra. And then also some of the foods to help continue to support that. So foods that come from the ground, specifically for the root. So, sweet potatoes, carrots, things like that, as well as grounding essential oils. So like patchouli or myrrh, very earthy fragrances, very calming and grounding fragrances too. So I put a little bit of everything. So, if somebody likes one thing or the other, they can try a couple different things to see what works best for them.
Amazing.
I can't wait. I can't wait to dive into that, because we haven't seen it either from recording this yet. So I can't wait to give you feedback on that and use that.
Awesome.
We'll have your links as well. So we'll put the links for everybody with the video, underneath the video.
Definitely.
Great.
Yeah.
Tell us where they can find you anyway.
Yes. Okay. So I don't think I even mentioned this, but I am the owner of Fit to You Live. And what we do is we bring premium yoga classes and pre-recorded classes to students in their home. So we are very active on our Facebook page, which is Fit to You. So it's FIT, the number 2, YOU, and then the word live. So we always try to post either short sequences once or twice a week. So, if somebody wants to tune in and just have, we just posted a chair yoga sequence yesterday, which was really great. Also posting a sunrise, so a salute the sun flow. So just a short flow for the morning to wake up that body, get the blood flowing. So we're very active on our Facebook page. And then our website also is fit2u.live. So not too much difference, just a little dot.
Amazing.
Yeah.
You guys listening, don't give me that excuse that you haven't got time, because you have got time. And the very first thing you need to do is look after yourself, to be able to look after other people and enjoy life more. And I think incorporating these sort of routines morning, whenever you can, really, it doesn't have to be just the morning, because we know what it's like. You can have kids and it's going crazy and you try and get them in the car and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
So at least at some point in the day, I think incorporating a routine into yoga, meditation, mindfulness, fitness, healthy eating, I think it just stems for a better lifestyle for you and the people around you.
I couldn't agree with you more. We actually had a class last week where we talked about this, and I really love that you touched on that. I think that, sometimes when we take time for ourselves, especially if we're parents, we may feel guilty, or there may be some, feelings of, but I have so much other things to do.
Yeah.
And I also have caught myself doing the same. But what I have found, and what a lot of people that, we talked about this have found, is when you take time to fill yourself up first and to tend to your needs, and it doesn't have to be a whole day, it doesn't have to be hours, it could be 5 minutes of a meditation, it could be 20 minutes of just a short flow where you just center yourself. You are so much better for those around you. You show up in a completely different capacity because you took time to tend to your needs, which is so important. And with May being, mental health month, it's so important to just have that mindful aspect, and just take that time for yourself. And taking time for yourself is not selfish. In fact, it is selfless, because in order for us to be our best for those around us and those that need us, we've got to take that time.
Yeah,
definitely. I think a sense of achievement as well. Whenever I feel like I'm going to do yoga or workout and I don't feel like I want to do it, but I make myself do it, the sense of achievement from just doing and taking action is amazing as well. You feel amazing by just doing that. Yeah, I did that when I didn't want to do it. And I think,
yep, and that's when you probably need it the most too, and you don't realize it. I found myself yesterday doing the same thing. I was like, oh man, I hadn't had a chance to just even center myself, because I usually like to start my day with just a short meditation or just tune in, or I always like to start my day with an intent. What is my intent for today? Maybe it's just achieving one thing, but I had all these other things, and it didn't include tending to myself. And so I found myself on my mat a little bit later in the evening, and my first thoughts were, I don't have a ton of time for this. But then I found out afterwards, I was a completely different person. And I thought, you know what? I thanked myself for finding that time to be able to do that and tend to some needs that I had left kind of untended to during the day. And I came back and I was better for it. And I slept great too, you know?
Yes. You sleep better, don't you? Since you've been doing it.
Definitely.
Yep. And it's just even carving out just a small portion of the day.
Yeah.
And, you know, it could be doing yoga, it could be reading a book, it could be going in the garden, but you got that time for you. And it's such a beautiful thing, you know, and you feel good after. You're like, you know, I'm so glad I did that. And everyone around you is glad too, because they're all happy too.
Definitely.
It does, definitely.
That's amazing.
That's amazing, Annette. So what do you love most about what you do?
Oh man, I just love being able to introduce new students and even students that have been practicing a while into the practice. When I do some of my live classes, one of my favorite things to include are affirmations. And so yesterday I kind of went through a bit of a grounding sequence with myself, and it was beautiful. At the end, I just sat there and I reminded myself, I'm like, I am calm and I am grounded. And I just repeated it like 5 or 6 times and just went through that. And afterwards, you know, it takes time for yourself to be able to hear that, but to be able to introduce new students to that practice also, because I was once a beginner, so I know those same feelings and intimidation when I first walked into that class. And still today, sometimes I walk in, you know, and I think to myself, like, oh man, you know, I've never been to the studio, or I've never been in this class. I don't know what to expect, but I just let it all go and just trust the process with it. But being able to introduce new students to the practice of yoga, to the benefits of yoga, and just even the healing properties of it, I love that. I really do. And a great example of that, actually, real quick, I actually should share this with you. I wasn't even planning to, but I had a friend reach out yesterday, and she recently beat cancer. Amen to that. I'm so happy for her. But she still has a lot of pain from the chemo, and she's not able to do a ton. And so I had created that chair yoga sequence, you know, and just put it out there. And she wrote me a message and just said, I want to thank you for that. I have a ton of pain, but this is something I was able to do, and it felt so good. And I thought how powerful that even just something that small could be that powerful in someone's life, and, you know, and be able to introduce her to that too. So I thought that was so incredible.
That's amazing. I'm super happy for her. Super happy for her. That is
so
amazing.
Nice when you're helping somebody else, even if it's one person. It just feels just amazing, doesn't it? Helping.
Oh, it feels so good. It feels so good when you get to that opportunity to just be of service to somebody else without wanting anything in return. You know, you just do it because you love it and you're passionate about it. You know, so it was really cool.
Oh, that's good.
It makes the soul feel good whenever you give. If you give a present, whatever it may be, you feel good for that. You're more excited than receiving a lot of the time.
Yeah. Because you get that opportunity to give back to somebody. You know, you don't want anything else in return. You're like, I just am thankful that I am able to do this.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Nice.
And that fear of judgment, that's the only reason why we're a bit anxious going into a gym or a yoga studio, because it's the fear of judgment. And you probably couldn't go to a better place not to be judged than in a yoga studio.
I was going to say, yogis are so welcoming. They are so nice. And, you know, it's incredible because you start to realize you're like, nobody's even watching me. I don't even think it matters at the end of the day. Nobody even paid attention.
That's right.
I was the only one worried. No one else was.
But you're an amazing advert for yoga. You just have to see how happy you are, how healthy you look.
You're glowing.
So you're
thank you for that. That means the world to me. Thank you.
Before we go, is there anything you want to touch on about yoga and about the benefits and about the services you offer?
Oh, absolutely. So, you know, for anyone that just wants a place to start, I absolutely welcome them. I really do. And if they have questions, they can email me. If they just, you know, rather email me privately, our email is hello@fittoulive. So email any questions over. I'm more than happy to respond. I always make sure to respond to all emails. But really, be open to the journey. It is such a healing journey, and you learn so much about yourself. You really do. And when you take that time to do something for you, it is so worth it. And you are so deserving of that time. So I encourage any new students that are considering joining, or maybe they just want to sit back and watch for a moment. That's allowed too. We welcome that, you know. And so I think right now, with where we're at with everything going on, the beautiful thing is people have the ability to practice in the comfort of their own home. So maybe they're not quite ready to show up at a studio and do a full-blown class, but they want to just kind of get their feet wet with it. And it's a great place to start. And we really try to offer a number of different classes. So for our newer students, we offer a guided flow. So the guided flow really is more instruction. It's not as fast paced, so we slow it down so that we can talk about the different postures. We can talk about the alignment, which is very important in creating that foundation. And once you have that foundation, then you can go anywhere. So I really encourage any new students that are listening to check out Fit to You Live. Feel free to email us any questions. And honestly, I mean any questions. We're so welcome and open to anything that anybody would like to ask. So I really do encourage that.
I'm definitely going to start it.
It's
tomorrow.
Amazing. I love it. Like I say, the flexibility it's starting to give me, because I'm a golfer and all that. I just, I'm more into mindfulness and all that anyway. So, and mindset. So I just love the breathing and just being everything else. Forget about it all. You're just in the moment, which I like.
And isn't it a great time to start something new like this? Because we're all on lockdown and, you know, we've got so much time really on our hands.
I couldn't agree with you more. I'm like, if there's something new that you want to try, and yoga is one of those, you absolutely should. Now is the time. We have the time to be able to do that. So don't let that time slip away without getting the opportunity to challenge yourself and try something new. You know, you never know what'll come of it. But I always, one of my favorite things, and I have to remind myself of this too, is just to trust the process. You know, just be open. You don't have to force it. You don't have to control it. You just trust the process.
Yeah, 100%.
Amazing.
I love it. Thank you so much, Annette. You have been absolutely brilliant. I've learned loads. I'm starting tomorrow.
Oh, good.
I'm going to come on your page tomorrow and start. Try and get into new habits. I've got so much time really in the mornings.
Yes.
We could get into some great habits in the next month.
Oh, that is awesome. I am so excited to hear that. Oh, that means the world to me. I love it.
Oh, and we'll put all your links at the bottom. We'll add this onto our page as well, and we'll add all your links on there.
Great. So I'll send you over the presentation after our video call so that you have that. And then if you need anything else from me, by all means, please reach out. I just want to say thank you to you both from the bottom of my heart. I am truly humbled that I got to spend this time with you. It really meant a lot to me.
It's been lovely.
So what did they say? Namaste?
Namaste.
Namaste.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Up today.
I've told you I've been practicing yoga. You know, I'm not sat there sleeping. I'm doing it.
That was the best. There's no better way to close it out than a namaste.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to talk to.
Yeah, and maybe, you know, in a few months' time or towards the end of the year, you can come on again.
I would love that. I would be so honored. I have just enjoyed this time with you both. Honestly, this has been very special for me.
It's been lovely. Thank you so much, Annette.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll send you a copy over as well of the video.
Awesome. All right. Have a beautiful day.
You too, Annette. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.